It is one of those unspoken secrets which you are not supposed to talk about.
There were so many guesses, and where were you and how were you taking all that?
My mental health was not good. I was not in a good place at all. I had to focus fully on healing myself, on fixing myself.
But how did you realize that this is the grey area?
It is a very scary thing, I think, for anyone to even look at it for themselves or to speak about it to someone. That the mental health part for most people still carries a lot of baggage. In my mind, I would say I'm a very chill, very laid-back guy. Actually, I was engaging with the world with a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. Everything, the whole world suddenly seemed very scary.
You are ready for all kinds of films?
Basically, yes. I am now consciously wanting to get to work. I'm wanting to find something interesting to work on.
Imran Khan, I just want to say that I'm relieved to see you.
Thank you. It's been so long. It's good to see you.
Relieved and of course happy. I don't know whether you will believe this, but there were so many questions. Everybody had a different version of why we don't see you, not just in movies, but why don't we just see you at least socially?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I understand that. These past couple of months, as I have slowly re-emerged into public life, I've kind of been inundated with this swarm of कि कहाँ थे, कहाँ गए, हुआ क्या? It's a great deal of curiosity, I guess.
There were wild guesses. Somebody said he's left India. Somebody said he's not well. Somebody attributed it to your films, which in the second half of your career didn't do well. There were so many guesses. And where were you and how were you taking all that?
Well, see, there is some truth to everything, basically. I was not well. I was battling very deep, very severe depression. I was out of the country for a significant amount of time. My father lives in California, and I've kind of spent my life going back and forth. I went to school over there, and I've spent my life bouncing between here and there. So I did spend a fair bit of time out there with my dad. But the simplest version is that I was my mental health was not good. I was not in a good place at all. I had to step back from the work that I was doing, and I had to focus fully on healing myself, on fixing myself.
But there's one thing, Imran, right at the beginning of the interview, when you say that you addressed your mental health. Now, this addressal is something which most people don't accept. I would like to ask you here, straight up, that how did you realize that this is the grey area?
See, there is a great stigma and a great discomfort that most people have with engaging with mental health. There is a fear कि लोग कहेंगे कि मैं पागल हूँ, I am you're crazy, or all of these negative perspectives are there, and it is a very scary thing, I think, for anyone to even look at it for themselves or to speak about it to someone. So there is a lot of that baggage, I think, that most people have. I never had that. I grew up in a home. My mother is a practicing psychoanalyst. And as a result, I kind of had a very destigmatized view of it. See, the fact of it is, how do you separate mental health from physical health? ऐसे ही है. Your mind is as much a part of you as your body. How do you separate your mind from your body? मतलब सब साथ में ही है. You have to approach it and engage with it in that same way. If you have a pain in your tooth, you go to the dentist. If you have an ear infection, you go to an ENT specialist. All of these are areas that we are comfortable dealing with. That the mental health part for most people still carries a lot of baggage. Uh, I'm blessed. I'm fortunate that I did not have those. I did not have those hurdles to overcome. So I was very. It was easier for me to look at that part and to acknowledge it. Acknowledging is the first step, which is the most difficult part, because most people will tend to look at it and say, "अरे, आज मेरा mood थोड़ा off है. It's okay, bro. It's fine, it's fine." Which is you're sweeping the problem under the rug. You're not addressing it. It's like suppose your tooth hurts, you're like, रहने दो. दांत में दर्द है, रहने दो. क्या होगा? It'll get worse. It will pain more. The tooth will rot and you will have even more pain. It is the same thing. You have to slow down, you have to stop and take a look at it and pay attention to it.
So, what was that flashpoint? I mean, what was that flashpoint where you said, okay, this is it? Did your mother tell you, or did you realize it individually?
It was kind of a slow build, a slow realization. And again, because one is conscious of this area of mental health, it is maybe easier to look at yourself and say, wait, is there something wrong here? For me, the easiest way to explain it is that I started to notice and perceive that I was not the guy who I thought of myself as. We always carry a version of ourselves in our mind. If I ask you, who is Vicky? How would you describe yourself? You will have certain ideas कि मैं ऐसा हूँ. So also I had ideas. If you asked me, I would have said I'm a very chill guy, I'm a very easygoing guy, I'm a very confident, laid back guy, I don't have a lot of hassles. मैं मस्त हूँ. That was how I saw myself. But I started to realize that actually that is not the way I was engaging with the world. While in my mind I would say I'm a very chill, very laid back guy, actually I was engaging with the world with a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. Everything, the whole world suddenly seemed very scary. I have to go out to a place where there are people. Like it'll be too noisy, there'll be too many people. It was overwhelming. More and more and more, just the normal parts of life that you and I would just consider. You go out to a restaurant with some friends. Everybody goes. I would be overwhelmed by it. I would be scared and anxious before I went. I would be sitting in a public place. It would be too noisy. The lights would be too bright. And I was just not feeling okay. And I said, oh, wait. That version of myself which I see as the guy who is chill and laid back, I'm not actually that guy. In my mind, I think I'm that. Actually, I'm not that. Actually, I'm a much more scared person. And that was, it was the realization that my actual self was not lining up with how I perceived myself. I said, kuch to gadbad hai. And at that point, I kind of said, okay, I need to seek professional help for this. I need to, as you would go to a doctor, I need to go to a mental health practitioner and start addressing this.
When did this phase begin? I ask you this because I remember after Katti Batti, 2015, if I'm not wrong, you were not seen on screen. So when did this phase begin? I mean,
I started to really perceive this in myself, I guess, around 2013, 14 onwards.
okay.
That is where more and more I started to, as I look back, when you're in the middle of it, you don't really realize. You can say, "Acha nahi hai, ye nahi hai, wo nahi hai." You will bypass a lot of it. Now, from where I am, if I'm looking back, my feeling is that I guess around 2013, 14, just after the time I turned 30, is where that sense started to come in, that I was feeling less and less and less and less. I was feeling like, diminished. and one makes the best effort of it. You kind of smile and you try and go out and do the thing. But
Yeah.
uh, I was just finding it harder and harder and harder to do the basic day-to-day things which all of us take for granted. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you have a shower, you put on clothes, and you go out to meet some friends, you go to work. I started to become, uh, and if you feel mentally weak, that translates to a physical weakness. You feel absolutely drained. You feel unable to engage in the most simple tasks. Just waking up, getting out of bed is a challenge. There are days where you're like, आज मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता, I can't go anywhere, I can't do anything.
So were there days when you probably didn't land up for the shoot, or at a social gathering where you had told friends that, I'm coming definitely?
For work, I would always show up because that has truly always been the greatest joy for me. The time that I've spent on set, working with other filmmakers, with a director, working with co-actors, working with a cinematographer, every single day on set is a blessing. And that is where that has been my meaning. The social side started to struggle. I could not maintain a lot of those things. किसी की birthday है, I'm like, यार लोग बहुत होंगे ना, I can't come. Someone is having a party out at a restaurant, I'm like, too crowded, I can't go. Large groups of people, frankly, I still am quite intimidated by crowds and by large groups of people. I'm still not very good with that.
Same here, actually.
Yeah. So
I also don't enjoy going to a lot of big gatherings. There are like 20 people, and you have to say that customary hi and get into a conversation, and then
yeah. So I've
after a point, you don't know what you have spoken and what the other person has spoken.
yeah. So I still find that very challenging. It's still quite challenging.
So, I mean, you started off, of course, on a grand note, and even Kidnap they praised you if you see the reviews. Where did you think that, can I say that, did you start getting repetitive rom-coms?
I don't know.
There was a school of thought at one point that he's doing similar kind of light films.
Yeah. But as a creative person, you follow your heart. You follow stories that resonate with you. I was, 24, 25, 26 years old, and I was at a place where a lot of us, that is kind of the journey of a person as you are going from boyhood into manhood. The questions of what kind of a person do I want to be, how do I see myself in the world, finding love, romance. These are kind of the things that one is tackling at that point in life. And very often I would find myself drawn to those stories. Very often I found myself drawn to first-time filmmakers. From Jaane Tu to I Hate Love Stories to Break Ke Baad to Brother Ki Dulhan to Ek Main Aur Ek Tu. All of these films were made by people who were about my age, who were making their first film. And generally, first-time filmmakers, they put a lot of their own heart into the story. There's a lot of the personal stuff.
Personal experiences, yeah.
And somehow that always resonated with me. I would read this story and you can feel it. Like,
मेरे साथ भी ऐसा हुआ है.
हाँ, और इसके साथ ऐसा हुआ है. There's a truth to it. The person has written something from their heart. So whether it's Jaane Tu, which has so much of Abbas in it, whether it's Brother Ki Dulhan, which has so much of Ali Abbas in it, all these guys, they were putting so much of their heart into those, and those were the ones that resonated with me. So yeah, I always went to the heart.
The irony is that, when you stop doing these light-hearted films, if you agree with me, उसके बाद the light-hearted films just started disappearing. And the trend which came, and the trend which is even now, loud films, very dangerously obnoxious, and at one point, as I said, we were thinking that you are getting repetitive. But now we are missing those films.
So see, really,
Do you agree with my observation?
really,
Have people told you this?
yes, I mean the internet resoundingly has shown up and said, "Arey, all of these films which you made 10 years ago are so amazing. Now they are being called ahead of their time." Uh, really, what this is a lesson that those of us, if you've spent some time really in the industry as a person who looks at it from the perspective of the craft, not box office, craft. Films kind of find their audience with time. The idea that a film's entire life and your entire perspective of a film is dictated by the first weekend, this is a box office centric view. That is one part of it. Of course, somebody has invested money in the film, you want to make money back. Of course. But is that the only value of a film? You have to look at a film with a slightly longer view. You have to give it a bit of breathing room and say, how does it hold up over time? On that particular day, at that moment when it released, who knows what other social factors were at play, what other things were happening in the public in the public discourse, so that at that moment, the way of a thing is perceived, you can't wed yourself to that. You have to take a step back and allow breathing room.
Had you wedded yourself to that?
No.
At no point, especially Jaane Tu ya Jaane Na, when you arrived. I myself saw that film 4 times.
It's a lovely film, but consider this. I guess a lot of people don't know the way that these things played out. I shot Jaane Tu. I finished making that film. Before it released, I got called in to test for Kidnap. I tested for Kidnap. I got signed for the film. I shot all of Kidnap. After that, I got offered Luck. I signed Luck. I started shooting Luck. And halfway into the filming of Luck is when Jaane Tu released. So by this point, I had made 2.5 films already. I had spent almost 3 years from the time I started shooting Jaane Tu till the time it released. In that time, I had been working, I had been showing up at auditions, I had been screen testing for films, I had been dropped from films for people who were more commercially viable at that time. So I had spent time as a working actor with no star value. While I was doing the final dubbing for Kidnap, this is one of those formative memories, something that really defined my view of stardom. I had been dubbing for a few weeks, and the whole time I was dubbing, nobody knew who I was. The dubbing location, that studio, was a pure veg facility, no non-veg allowed. So from time to time, if I got a dabba, I've got khana which was non-veg, I was not permitted to eat inside. They would give me a plastic chair and put it outside on the footpath. Between where the cars are parked and the studio ka wall, I would sit on a plastic chair and I would eat my dabba. Which is fine because as movie people, you're shooting on location, you sit on a plastic chair, khana kha lete hain. We have all done this. One day the Jaane Tu promos released. That day, when I came out for my lunch break, the studio guys were standing there with a tray and a plate, kanta chammach. They had ordered mutton biryani from next door. They're saying, sir, बाहर क्यों गर्मी में बैठेंगे? आप अंदर बैठिए ना, मटन बिरयानी खाइए. Same guys. For 3 weeks, they made me sit on a plastic chair outside. One promo of a film has come, suddenly the guys are all smiling and saying, sir, mutton biryani, mutton biryani. Who has changed? Have I changed? So how do I take that guy seriously? These guys now who are smiling and saying, sir, 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 Am I such a great guy suddenly that now I deserve all of this? You can't take that seriously. When you are suddenly, if you are known, everybody starts treating you so great, like, sir, you're the greatest, sir, आप तो genius हो, sir, आप इतने handsome हो, sir, आप इतने smart हो, sir. You can't let that go to your head. You say, bhai, I'm the same guy who I was when I was shooting that film. When I was working on that film, I got paid a nominal sum of money. I didn't have all of this value. One day, suddenly everyone says you're the greatest, and now they're paying you crores and crores of rupees and falling down to press your feet. You don't take it seriously.
You mentioned the word craft a little while ago, and I want to ask you, how does an actor, and you in this case, stay tuned to your craft, or close to your craft, when you're so much away for so many years?
It's in fact easier. In order to stay tuned to the craft, you have to be in touch with yourself. You have to be honest. You have to be creatively honest. After the release of one successful film, suddenly everyone is patting you on the back. They're throwing money at you. You can start to say, भाई मुझे तो सब आता है, मैं सबसे स्मार्ट हूँ. The moment you start to buy into that and to believe that you are that great and that smart, you will stagnate as a creative person. You have to always, always, always have that creative self-doubt. Am I good enough? Can I do better? Can I try harder? Is there a way that I can improve this? As long as you are seeking that and you are putting that question to yourself, that is how you will stay in touch. The moment you feel like, bhai mujhe sab aata hai, then you will stagnate. This entire time that I stepped away from this world, to tell you the truth, for several years in there, I did not consider that I had no intention of doing further work. I did not have a sense of I'm taking this much time off और उसके बाद मैं ऐसा करूँगा. I had not thought these things through. What I knew was that I was damaged. I had to address that. बाकी का बाद में देखा जाएगा.
But there's one more thing, you say that you were damaged, but were you also uncomfortable with the too much of arc lights, too much of attention being given to you, people chasing you, whether barefooted or in cars, and the paparazzi?
I was never comfortable with.
That's what the impression we got that time.
From day one, I was never enamored with it. I was not excited by that thing. And I didn't place a lot of value on that. For me, those are side things. It is a byproduct of something that you do. That kind of, the whole notion of fame, celebrity, all of that is such an ephemeral thing. It's hawa mein. We don't control that. We don't. And I never bought into it.
But those agencies which were surrounding you, if I can use that word, they must have told you, abhi utho, abhi baitho, abhi aisa karo, abhi waisa karo.
There is, and the tendency is that an ecosystem starts to build around you.
Yeah.
Of people who have ideas, management, publicity, all of this, ke aapka image aisa hona chahiye, for your career you should do this thing. So more and more and more the ecosystem builds around you, and you start to have a lot of voices who are telling you कि ऐसा होना चाहिए. But all of those are coming from the perspective of
their perspective
and their view of you have to grow your brand worth. Last film you got paid this much money, now you must get paid this much money. Last you got 1 endorsement, now you must get 3 endorsements. Har endorsement ka per day. It is all from that perspective of building more money, building more of your star value. But for me, these were never real things.
So did you have those skirmishes with them that I don't want to do this way? आप जो बोल रहे हो, It's not going down with me.
Social media was such a thing. There's this whole thing that you have to be visible on social media. I had a social media manager who would say कि Instagram पे ऐसे post करो, Instagram पे अभी ये whatever ये style trend हो रहा है, you know how these things
Yeah,
trend.
yeah.
कि एक ऐसा you want music and you put one meme and ऐसा तो आप ऐसा meme क्यों नहीं करते? And I was like नहीं करना है. Like नहीं लेकिन आप पीछे पड़ जाएंगे. These are not real things in my opinion.
So in this back and forth with your managers and agencies, like where you disagreed with them, did you lose out on films? Did you lose out on money? Like, okay, they said you got an X amount for this, now you charge 2X.
From the moment I
Or
entered
or
this,
take this film which we are telling you, they start telling you also that which film you should take and which you shouldn't take.
from the moment
Am I right?
yeah, of course. From the moment I entered the business, from the time that Jaane Tu released, I have turned down more money than I have accepted. Because the moment you show up, see, if you so choose, आपको तो पता ही है, you can show up for events and they pay you. You go to walk the ramp for some designer, they pay you. You go to the launch of some new shopping mall and you cut a ribbon and they pay you. I never accepted those things. The number of people who would call and say, come and cut a ribbon and take this much money. For me, I would always tend to pull away from those things. So, truthfully, I have turned down more money than I have accepted.
Did Aamir know that you were so different and, if I can say, out of the box?
I mean, that is kind of a family tendency. चाहे Aamir or my uncle Mansoor. Mansoor famously, after making 4 films, left the city, moved to Kunur.
But I was just coming to that. You also, went after your guru to Gurukul.
Yeah.
And for a while you were not there when you were much younger.
So I went
and off screen I'm reminded by that Aamir's film, Three Idiots, where he just disappears, the 2 friends are searching for him and you don't know where he is.
So I guess you could say ये थोड़ी खानदानी बीमारी है. A little bit of that. A disengagement and a disenchantment with the things which a lot of people hold in such value. For us, in my family, that is what I have seen, and that is the way I was raised. That you don't put stock in these things. This is ये हवा की बातें हैं. This comes and goes like the tide. You don't put real stock in that. You put stock in your craft. You put stock in the film. Film is forever.
So are there days when even today you disconnect?
All the time.
Maybe just somebody who's very close to you, say your partner or somebody, knows that, okay, I know where Imran is, but the world doesn't know. Maybe your aunt also doesn't know, your uncle doesn't know.
Yes, absolutely. This is very much how I am. I don't like my phone. I don't use WhatsApp.
So good to hear that.
It gives me a lot of anxiety. This ting, it keeps making sounds and you feel like you have to go. So my phone, I keep on silent most of the time. Every few hours, and I don't keep it with me. I keep it somewhere, like I'll enter the house and I'll put it on a table and say...
Tucked away.
And then every so often I'll walk past and look at it, okay, is there something really that needs my attention right now? This can wait till tomorrow, rehne do. The phone gives me a lot of anxiety. And I think all of my friends, my family, everyone has adjusted to that fact. Okay, Imran, you will be able to access Imran at his pace. I feel like the world has forgotten, man. Like it's not that long ago. You will remember, I remember, there was a time when we didn't have cell phones. If somebody calls the home and says, "Arey bhai, Vicky se baat karni hai. Vicky is not here, he's gone out. Shaam ko aayega." You call in the evening.
Yeah.
Kya karenge?
Yeah.
What will happen?
Nothing.
We've forgotten that life was like that, or like everybody lived fine. We managed to run the whole world. People managed to make movies. People managed to figure out how to cure
Yeah.
diseases. Everything happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, I'll call after 2 hours. Nahi.
Yeah.
The world forgot how to do that.
You are on the phone and the person, you're speaking to that person on the normal call and he's already sent you a WhatsApp message. अच्छा तू देख मैंने तेरे को already भेज दिया है. अरे बाबा, I am talking to you. You want me to go on the other mode and come back and reply to you there and there.
Yeah, so uska bandwidth, it needs so much bandwidth. I don't have that kind of bandwidth. I can engage at a small level. One person, two people, we are talking face to
But
face.
trust me, I'm relating it to you so much. What I feel, as far as the phone is concerned, or as far as socializing with people is concerned, these have become like mandatory.
It has become mandatory. I'm not able to do it at that rate. My bandwidth is less. My battery, I have less battery than most people. Some people have very very solid battery जिसका power capacity बहुत है. मेरा battery कम है. So I can manage this much at this scale and I can't do more than that.
When you say that you're back, what do you exactly mean by it? Have you dived into the deep end and now ready for all kinds of films?
So this entire thing has caught me a little bit by surprise. I spent so many years doing the opposite of what you are supposed to do. अगर आपको relevant रहना है, people don't let go of the limelight. Relevant रहने के लिए लोग कुछ भी करने को तैयार हैं. I didn't do that. I said, bhai, I'm not there. And I went off. I said, I'm quietly living my life, doing my own thing. The internet started knocking on my door. And this past year, it reached a place where I felt like there was so much buzz online. People were knocking and saying, "Kahan ho? Where are you?" This "Laut aao Imran" hashtag, which suddenly.
But it's such a sweet hashtag.
I can't tell you how overwhelmed I am. The feeling of, from my side, if I have said कि I'm not there, I've rejected that whole worldview, that whole life, and said कि मैं नहीं हूँ. For people who have seen my films to say we like your films so much that we miss you and we want to know where you are, it is the most humbling feeling. I am absolutely flattened by the weight of that. I started to feel like इतने लोग पूछ रहे हैं that if I don't respond and acknowledge, it'll be rude. So I have to. So in these past few months, then I slowly started to re-emerge via Instagram and said, "Acha, all of you people are knocking on my door. I have to respond and say, hi, thank you. I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking about me." So at this point, it has been entirely driven in that way, where I'm responding to the people who have been knocking on my door. Within that, there is a creative itch. Honestly, there is nothing in the world that I love as much as movies. I have grown up as a movie lover, and till today, I don't I don't know if there is anything that I value as much as watching a movie and immersing myself. I am that audience where I weep in movies. I cheer and so I'm completely emotionally invested in whatever film I'm watching. Like, my emotional graph is.
Tell me next time when you go to a theater. I'll book the ticket behind you.
I'm that guy. I'm laughing, I'm clapping, I'm weeping, to me there is nothing greater than this. As a viewer, as an audience, and then that extends also into doing the thing. I started making films when I was a kid. I would steal Mansoor's handycam. I would get two friends and we would make films. And I have been doing that through my life. There is nothing that I enjoy as much as making a film, चाहे वो professional level पर हो या फिर at a small intimate level with a handy cam and two friends. I love it.
So aren't you saying that you are ready for all kinds of films?
Uh, Basically, yes. I am now consciously wanting to get to work. I'm wanting to find something interesting to work on. And I'm coming to it now from a slightly different creative and emotional perspective, where it is now, it's easy living in the Bollywood bubble to start to buy into that narrative and to start to buy into that worldview that box office is king, and how is it received over here, all of that. And what that does is ultimately it devalues something which I actually cherish. So if I make a film, I will say Break Ke Baad is as an example. The film was a commercial failure at the time that it released. But I loved working on that film. The director, Danish Aslam, till this day is a dear friend of mine. My co-actors, Deepika, Yudi, Shahana, every day that I was on set making that film was a joy. Like I would wake up happy. I like these people. I love collaborating with them. I love that creative process. So we spent 3-4 months. I put in 3-4 months of my life, of my time, every day going to set, working on something which I like. It's a privilege to get the chance to make a movie. And then if you negate that whole experience basis the box office, that then you're doing a disservice to such a beautiful thing. So for me, the value of it is I'm getting the chance to do something which I love. I love so much that I would do it for free. I get a camera and with friends I would make films for the enjoyment of doing the thing. उसमें कुछ पैसा नहीं था. I'm getting the chance to do this. I'm getting the chance to do it with such skilled professionals. That is the value of it.
But problem यहाँ एक है that okay fine, you're ready for all kinds of films, but the importance on box office is in fact far more today than what it was in 2015 when you left.
Yeah, but now the world has opened up. Now with OTT, with streaming, with digital, you're no longer restricted to such a narrow window. Films theatrical runs also nowadays are nothing. Back in the 70s, 80s, films used to run for 100 days, 200 days. Famously, Sholay, for the first couple of months, was a dud. It's 50 days into its release, suddenly the film picks up. That was then.
But still things are getting tighter. The OTT, for example, this whole space of OTT has now decided that we'll give you this much money depending on how much of run you have had on the box office, how much you have collected. It will be proportional to that. So things are not easy for
It's never easy.
actors and filmmakers.
It has never been easy, which is why I'm saying every time that somebody gets the chance to make a film and completes a film is a gift. We have to look at it in that way. It's not easy. So this is also translated into how I view films. I am a very, very I'm not a judgmental viewer. I watch films knowing how difficult it is to make. You watch this thing and I'm saying, good job guys, good effort. अरे यार ये देखो बारिश में शूटिंग किया है, अंधेरे में शूटिंग किया है, you know how difficult it is, how cold it must have been. So I'm the guy who watches films with an understanding and appreciation of how difficult it is. I'm like, guys, good job.
But any kind of films you have demarcated and said, I will not do these kind of films? Especially keeping in times, keeping in mind what has changed and the landscape which we have now.
I, as a result of my personal emotional journey these past years, I have found myself in a very sensitive and delicate space. I'm unable to watch things that have a hardness and a bleakness. Succession, for example, which was very popular, I couldn't watch it, too stressful. Uh, I have been at a place where I'm really consciously seeking out films that are kind of consciously a little gentler and yeah, that has been my space as a viewer, and then that also translates into my tastes as a creative person. I'm I'm currently very sensitive and sensitized to that sort of thing, to bleakness, to darkness, to violence and gore. It overwhelms me. So as a viewer, I'm not able to take it, and by extension, as a creative person, I don't feel like I can engage with that.
Can I ask you if you saw Animal?
Not yet. It's been such a hotly debated film, and if I'm fully honest, I have not seen a lot of Hindi films in the past few years. Part of it was kind of like a conscious disconnection from the business, from the industry. Uh, so I know the film has been hotly debated, but I'm not qualified to speak on it without having seen the thing.
Without
So
actually seeing it.
it looks like it's got a fair bit of action. So I don't know, maybe.
Fair bit nahi hai. It's overboard. It's overboard. So, you spoke about Animal, but, when you did one interview earlier, say a month back, people thought that you are taking a dig at Animal when you said, I don't want to do a film where somebody solves problems with a gun. You must have read it on the internet.
I did. See, I was referring to my own a role which I was offered. People like to take these things and make it about another
Twist
film.
it.
I personally would never. I would never critique another person's film in public. I would consider that disrespectful. What I was always raised with is that you praise in public, you criticize in private. If you have to criticize something, you tell the person who is concerned at a private level. You don't do it in public. That's disrespectful to a creative person. I was addressing the fact that I last year I had entered conversations with Abbas Tyrewala to act in a show which he was making, which was set in the world of espionage, and ultimately the show kind of fell by the wayside. But I was addressing my part in that playing a character who is an action guy, a spy, and all of this. There's a lot of action, a lot of violence, and such. And I was not wanting to play that kind of a part for myself. What choices another creative person will make, I don't like to criticize.
So you told Abbas, frankly,
Well,
that let's not do it.
No, long before it even came to that, the show was in development at Hotstar. Then Hotstar got folded or into Geo or acquired by Geo. So somewhere within that thing of how much product they already had, they're like, we're not commissioning more things. So after a couple of initial conversations, the development on that show itself ceased. So it never came to that. And then after that, as I reflected a bit on it and thought, okay, where am I creatively? Where is my heart? I said, हाँ ये
जम नहीं रहा है.
ये जम नहीं रहा है. The action part of it. It's like,
There's one aspect I remember, Imran, in your earlier days. I don't know if it kept happening to you, but filmmakers were constantly asking you to beef up and for various kinds of roles, and maybe even the ones which you did. That phase, can you dwell light on that?
So this is part of the, shall we say, the perception of a Bollywood hero.
Fad.
फैड नहीं है, आज तक चल रहा है. एंड it's it's also not fair to just say Bollywood, because even in Hollywood, if you look at the top actors in Hollywood or over here, these guys are all built like Greek gods, amazing physiques. And as an actor, you yourself will start to feel some of that pressure. You're looking around saying, guys, all these guys have just such great physiques. मुझे भी करना चाहिए. And that would then tie in where a producer, a director would also tell me before starting shooting, hey, listen, before we start, can you bulk up a bit? थोड़ा पतला लग रहे हो, कमजोर लग रहे हो. Kamzor was the word that they would use a lot. And the same kind of pressure which is put on the girls, the actresses would be told, you're looking too fat, you need to start starving and make yourself skinny. And on the flip side, the guys need to beef up. So there was always a thing of, will you beef up a bit? Can you bulk up? Can you bulk up? Naturally, I have a very high metabolism, so I'm naturally on the much skinnier side. So there's a certain amount of it that you can do by eating grilled chicken and drinking whey protein. Utna tak I managed. Somewhere in the middle of that, I reached a place where there was also this thing of, kid, it's not enough. You're still not muscular enough.
Did you get dropped from some films because of that?
No, never.
कि नहीं चलो इसको मत लो. He's not beefing up enough. You said you love movies. Movies is something which is so inherent, genetic, everything with you. I mean, we all know. So what do? Do you go to theaters and see movies? You said you don't see Hindi movies nowadays much. Yeah. But do we see you in multiplexes? We haven't, but I don't know what you do and how you go.
यार, सच बोलूं तो in recent years, even the Hollywood film scene, I've not been loving so much of it. A lot of, there'll be 2 or 3 films in a year that are really exciting. But a lot of times, a lot of the recent films somehow have not been resonating with me. So these past 5-7 years, I really started diving into old classic cinema. I kind of said, I want to go back and watch all of these old classics. As a 20-something-year-old, there are a lot of older films which are like, yaar, black and white film nahi dekhni hai. Foreign language film nahi dekhunga. And now I'm going back and saying, I want to watch these black and white films. I want to watch silent films. I want to watch foreign language films. And that has been that has been what I've been doing a lot of these past few years. I've really been going back and revisiting. Well, not revisiting. For me, it's the first visit. A lot of classic cinema.
Any Hindi films which you have seen of the old?
Truthfully, no. I've been diving into world cinema. I believe it or not, as a person who worked in the film for so many years in the film industry, I managed to reach the age of 37, 38 without ever watching anything by Kurosawa. It's like black and white Japanese film, nahi dekhni. 3 years ago, for the first time I sat down, I said, yaar, I've heard so much about this film, Rashomon. Such a famous film, such an influential film. I have never seen it. So one day I said, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch Rashomon, black and white Japanese film from 1950. And it blew my mind. I sat there stunned, speechless. I'm like, oh my God, this is genius. Then I had a couple of months where
you saw Japanese films.
I was only diving into, I couldn't watch anything that was not Kurosawa. I was like, ये आदमी genius है, ये गुरुदेव है. I was absolutely blown away. Seven Samurai is one of the finest contributions to world cinema in any language in any time. Genuinely, it is a towering achievement. So I've started diving into a lot of Japanese film. I started diving into Korean film, Chinese films, a little bit of European cinema, bit of French cinema. There's so much more, so much world cinema that I have not yet dived into. And there's like entire filmographies of these great filmmakers of the old times. So bit by bit, I've been sitting and saying, now I will introduce myself to this filmmaker.
Plays?
Theater, stage is not my medium. It is a very different medium from cinema. So it doesn't touch
You
my
don't
heart.
even go and see a play to enjoy it.
You know, a lot of my cousins and friends are deep into theater. So I go and I watch, and it's, it's up and down. But as a medium, it doesn't touch my heart in the same way. My my heart belongs to cinema. So when I'm sitting and watching a play, I keep thinking, यहाँ एक close up होना चाहिए, यहाँ एक
अच्छा.
insert होना चाहिए, और insert नहीं मिलता है.
You always associate yourself with how this scene would have been done on the big screen.
Yeah, and watching it play, I'm like, I want a close up of this actor in this moment, but I'm sitting in third row, so I can't get a close up. So I want close ups.
You see television,
I don't watch any series.
news.
It's too stressful. Series का क्या है? I didn't know how to articulate this until recently. One season of any show is about 8 to 10 hours. थोड़ा ऊपर थोड़ा नीचे, but call it 8-10 hours. So you watch one season, 10 घंटे आप बताएं किसी के साथ. And it ends with a cliffhanger. Come back next season. So you wait 1 year. 1 year later, you sit down, you get another 10 hours again to end in a cliffhanger up season 3 का. So now I have spent 20 hours watching the story. मुझे end नहीं मिला है कि end में होता क्या है. With a film, you sit down for 2 hours and you get an ending. So that
You lose track at some point.
you lose track and you don't get the culmination. You're like, end में होता क्या है? With a film, you sit down, you watch for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and you get the end of the story. So for this reason, basically, in the last few years, I started to lose interest in watching series. I'm like, I can't sit for 10 hours and then not get the ending of the story. You know, it's that.
By television, actually, I thought I meant TV serials, actually. That I think is a no for you.
वो तो I've cut the cord long ago. That, like, whatever.
कभी
comes
देखा ही नहीं शुरू में भी.
Not for years. 15 साल हुए कम से कम that I
Not even reality shows.
never. This holds no interest for me. I like I like the made up world. Reality shows are half made up, but ultimately it's not enough made up. It's only 20-30% made up. Cinema, there's a construction to cinema. You know, the cinematic frame. You've got that nice widescreen frame. Everything is there on purpose. It is considered. It is there to tell a story.
I can see it. You're very keen to get back.
It is, according to me, the greatest art form. There's nothing greater for me.
So what else does Imran do in a day? If he's not going out to meet some filmmaker or not having a meeting or not having a script session, which you probably could be having now.
Very little, less and less. I really, in the past decade, wanted to grow and develop the other facets of my personality. The idea that you define yourself by one thing. I act in Hindi films, so that is the entirety of my personality. वो नहीं है. There's a lot more that goes into making a whole three-dimensional person. I've kind of dabbled and indulged in a lot of my personal passions and hobbies. I have a taste and a fascination for design. I'm not a trained architect or anything, but I designed a house and I built a house for myself out in Karjat. I worked with a structural engineer who would tell me, "Ke, sir, itna possible hai." But the aesthetic design was entirely mine. I've spent the past 4 years designing and building that. I got into cars. I've always liked cars. But I had this fantasy that I want to be the type of guy who can open the hood and, actually do the thing.
Yeah.
Not just कि मेरे पास पैसा है तो मैंने Lamborghini ले ली. That is a different type. I think I want to be the guy who can actually do the thing.
Yeah.
So I spent
This
a
is
lot
my
of time.
car.
Yeah. So I sold all of those cars. I bought a Volkswagen Polo. I spend a lot of time on the forums on YouTube learning about the thing. And I started working on it. I started modding it. I started upgrading it. So I've spent past 4 years working on this car. And it's mine. Whatever I can do by myself, by my own hand, I'll go online, learn how to do it. I'll get parts and build it out. So it's been a passion
You
project.
cook also.
I cook when just out of necessity. It's not like I'm a great chef or anything.
Great independence, Imran. Great. You took a gap. I saw a spring in your stride when you walked into this place. You are a very meticulous person. You know, the little interaction that I had with you before, and now when we were, trying to make this interview happen, you were always on the SMS. Thank God you're not on WhatsApp.
It's easier for me. I just do
And
my stuff.
you were so prompt in replying and so clear that, okay, I can't do it on this day, I can do it on this day.
So that also is kind of how I've structured and managed my life. I Thursday to Sunday, I don't take on any work. Those are the days I have my daughter with me. So because I have to take her to school, get her ready, be there and do all of these things, I don't take on work from Thursday to Sunday. I only take on work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. As in when I start shooting for something, that thing is going to go for a toss. But वो कल देखा जाएगा.
Lot out, Imran.
Thank you.
Into the big screen.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for this conversation. It was lovely.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.